I'm here with Kyle Clark to break down a night that, without using with using family-friendly language, can only be described in a whoa kind of evening for the Democrats, right?
I mean, it was an utter excrement fest for Colorado Republicans. Tonight's results, the overwhelming Democratic victories, were not what Democrats predicted, and they were not what Republicans predicted. I don't think that they were even within the realm of possibility for Republicans, and they might have been Democrats' wildest dreams. Although when I straight up asked Democratic State Senator Dominic Moreno if he could have imagined tonight's results in his wildest dreams, he said no. I truly think that what we saw was there was polling indicating that things were moving in Democrats' direction in a significant way, especially in the governor's and the Senate race. I think a lot of us in the media, and maybe some folks who follow politics out and around town, have become kind of conditioned after the polling misses around Trump to not put a lot of stock in polls, or to think that polls are going to skew left. And in the end, Colorado Democratic voters outperformed the polling, oftentimes significantly. And I think that's a testament to the polling. The pollsters don't want to be wrong. They want to be right. They want to learn lessons. They want to do it better. We also know that polls are a snapshot in time. And I think there was a prevailing wisdom, at least nationally, that things were turning Republicans' way in the closing message. Sure as you know what, that didn't happen in Colorado. Because if anything, things moved left from the polls. This is a reckoning type moment that I think the Colorado Republican Party has not had in the past, even though it's been 8 years since they won a major race and they've suffered a lot of defeats. Because this was the time that they went in and they said, tonight's our night, baby. This is it. We can do it. And they got their butts handed to them up and down the line. And if that doesn't prompt a reckoning about what the party wants to be in the future, I don't know what will. They've got a couple of paths, and it's up to Colorado Republicans. I mean, we're both unaffiliated voters. That's not our business. It's up to Colorado Republicans what they want the party to be. And one path is, obsolescence, like California Republicans, or in a lot of ways New York Republicans. I grew up in a very Republican part of upstate New York, where it was 2-1 Republican, and Republicans lost continually in statewide races in New York. I mean, I think.
But even Lee Zeldin came much closer in New York State, much closer than.
A little hope this year, but do you want to be a party that every 30 years has a little hope, or do you want to be a party that competes? And I think that's really where Colorado Republicans have got to figure out where they want to go. But bear in mind that what we heard from the Republicans this year is we fended off the extremists. We got the moderates on the ballot. And I think they did for the most part. I think Heidi Ganahl veered far right toward the end of her campaign. But for the most part, they had reasonable, moderate Republican candidates on the ballot. And Colorado voters looked at the moderate Republicans on the ballot and said, no, thank you, sir. Not interested.
And why do you think? I mean, I know there's a plethora of reasons behind that, but any one or two main reasons that you thought that those Republican candidates were so soundly rejected?
I mean, they were soundly rejected almost regardless of ideology. I mean, Ganahl right now is down 18, 19 points, but you have O'Day down, 13 points or so right now, and he ran away from Trump. I mean, this was just a repudiation of what Republicans stand for in Colorado. Even in a year when so many of the key issues worked in their favor, inflation, crime, immigration concerns, things like that, I do think that one thing I'll be very interested in seeing in polling is how much of a motivating factor abortion rights were. Because this is a state that for 60 years has prioritized reproductive rights, dating back to Governor Love, a Republican who passed a very liberal abortion law in this state. Abortion has not necessarily been a big bone of contention in Colorado for a long time. We voted on reproductive rights issues a number of times, and the people who have led those issues to restrict abortion have gotten soundly beaten again and again and again. This is a state where there's a bipartisan consensus on abortion rights. And I'm curious how much that played in, because when I look at it, you look at the fact set and you're like, what a potentially great year for Republicans. And for them to get, run out of the barn that indicates that there's just a deep distrust between Colorado voters and what the Colorado Republican Party stands for.
Is it safe to, maybe not to oversimplify, but is it safe to characterize Colorado as a blue state at this point?
I think that that's really an interesting conversation to have, because swing states swing. Ain't no swing tonight. This was a year in which there was expected to be a swing, and it swung the other way. To be a purple state or a swing state, it doesn't just mean you have both folks in your state, because every state does. And I think folks who maybe haven't lived in a state like that don't know that, like, there are a ton of Republicans in California, there's a ton of Republicans in New York, and in deep red states, there's a ton of Democrats in Florida. It's just there's more of the other teams, so they lose all the time. So people say, well, Colorado's purple because look, it's blue here and it's red there. That's not what purple states mean. Swing states, purple states are states that are routinely competitive. And Colorado is not currently routinely competitive. And I think if you look at what happened tonight and say, with things setting up so well for Republicans, and the result is they get their lunch money taken, that doesn't happen in a swing state, in a purple state. Now, does that mean that Democrats are always going to exert the level of control that they currently do over state politics? No, nothing's forever. Everything comes and goes. Everything comes and goes. But we've seen in other states the way you can go from very competitive to not at all competitive, and how that can take a generation to break out of.
Maybe one possible point of hope for the Republicans that Kelly Marr, our Republican strategist, brought up tonight that I thought was quite interesting is, as we record this on very late on election night, on Tuesday night, November the 8th, Adam Frisch narrowly beating Lauren Boebert in the 3rd Congressional District. Lauren Boebert, I think pretty clearly the face of the Colorado Republican Party for the last couple of years. Does maybe replacing her, a less extreme face of the Republican Party, give them a path forward?
I think that a lot of Republicans, well, I shouldn't say a lot of Republicans. I think some Republicans, more centrist Republicans, are uncomfortable with the fact that Lauren Boebert is the most famous Colorado Republican, and it's not even close. And I don't know that they would wish a loss upon her, but I think the idea of replacing her with a Republican who is interested in legislating or governing, as opposed to just being politically famous, offers Republicans another path forward. Lauren Boebert leaving office does not excise the Lauren Boebert wing of the Republican Party. They're still there. They voted for Ron Hanks for Senate. A lot of them voted for Greg Lopez for governor. A lot of them voted for Lori Sain in Colorado Congressional District 8. Those folks are still going to be there, and they're going to want somebody Boebert-like to represent them. But if Republicans at the end of the night are able to say, Barb Kirkmeyer is a Republican congresswoman from Colorado, and Lauren Boebert is not, that allows Republicans to change the conversation. Barbara Kirkmeyer is no squish. She's a very conservative woman. She has been for a long time. This is somebody who just recently came to the idea that there should be any exceptions for abortion, even to save the life of the mother. She's a very conservative woman. But she is not somebody who has made her way by just flame-throwing all the time. So I think some Republicans would be interested in somebody other than Boebert being the face of the party. But the only way that happens is if she loses.
Any quick final thoughts before we get out of here?
I think it's going to take some time to really figure out what happened tonight and why it happened. So we'll let folks in on a little thing. So ahead of elections here, we'll write up a little booklet for all the folks in the newsroom, some of whom cover politics a lot, like you and me, and some of them not very much. But one of the things that we lay out is, like, here are the likely scenarios. Thing number one could happen, or maybe thing number two happens. Less likely is thing number three that happens. The overwhelming Democratic victories that we saw tonight were not among our anticipated scenarios. I mean, the most Democratic-friendly scenario that we had is that there wasn't really a red wave nationally, and the Democrats kind of roughly held their own in Colorado in a tough year for them. We did not envision a scenario in which they blew out their Republican opponents left, right, and center. So I think if we were not prepared for tonight, and I don't know how many people in Colorado politics were prepared for tonight, that suggests that maybe the quickest take is not the greatest take, and maybe we should step back, gather some more information, talk to some more people, and figure out what really happened. Because at the end of the day, it's not up for us to determine what happened. Voters made this choice. and voters sent one hell of a message tonight about how they want to see Colorado led.
And we'll continue to get some of that data as it comes in and some of those takes as they come in. But Kyle, thanks so much for your time here tonight.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me back into the Bianca Drome.
Whatever this is,
Yeah.
thanks again for joining us, Kyle.